So as we dive into Semrush, we're going to spend this time, more time actually looking at the functionalities and then like doing a project together, like setting up a project together. And we'll use the HireWriter site. It's going to be lean on data because it's not a very trafficked site, but it'll at least have the component parts and we know we have access to everything. So that'll make it easy. So does anybody have any big questions? It's helpful. Okay, so the difference between what we just did with Google Search Console and Google Analytics and what we're going to see in Semrush is research. Okay, so Google Search Console is going to teach you about what? What do you go there to find?
Click-through rate, what people are landing on, where they're coming from.
What demographics are coming to your website?
So site performance and search for the most part. How is my site performing and how is it performing in search? Hey, Ashley. And then what are we going to go to Google Analytics to find?
Traffic and behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So where are they coming from? Where are we acquiring leads, site visitors from, and how are they behaving on our site? Okay, so Google Search Console, Google Analytics, that's great. They're diagnostic tools, right? They tell you how a site is performing. What they don't do is really give you any kind of ability to research. So if we're thinking about like the trifecta of tools needed to either devise or implement an SEO strategy, you have to have diagnostic tools that monitor the performance of your website. You have to understand what's going on. That's all we've talked about for the last 2 weeks, right? What's going on these websites we're looking at. But obviously as a strategist, like that's great. That sets a baseline for the performance and all that, but you want to devise a plan for impacting what happens, right? So you can't do that unless you can actually research things that aren't currently happening on the site, right? So you can diagnose all the flaws in the world. You need to know how to fix the flaws, right? You need to know what now. How are we going to move forward in a way that's strategic against what we know the site is currently doing? Now, a lot of SEO companies will pitch like SEO audits or SEO strategies or things like that that are done without the context of site performance. So this is why like we will not take on an SEO client without doing an SEO audit, because we cannot confidently recommend something to you unless we know how your site is performing. Like we can't just go into a client and be like, okay, you want to rank for these 10 keywords. Great, let's blog about these 50 things and you'll rank for those keywords, because you don't know. You don't know how the site is currently performing. You don't know the bugs in the system. You don't know, like you don't have enough information to be able to confidently recommend that. If you recommend that, it may or may not work, right? And it may not work for reasons totally unrelated to what you're recommending. It might not work because of factors that have to do with site performance, acquisition, or user behavior, okay? So it's very important that you do the diagnostic step first, which is why this sequence is important, but you also can't not have some kind of tool to set then a precedent for what a client should do, or what, like, for instance, we should do. What, let's not worry about what we should do because I don't really care, but we'll just use it as educational purposes. All right. So that's like the spiel of like, why does this matter, or a tool like this matter? Because you need to know what now. All right. So I am going to quickly go through the UI. I'm going to spend a little more time actually using the tool than we did with GSC and GA, because chances are you may not be as familiar with it, or if you are, you maybe haven't used it in a while, or maybe you don't have the level of a subscription that I do. So you don't have all the bells and whistles and things that are, it is expensive. It's like $300 a month at base pay. So yeah. All right. So UI. So basically Semrush, you log in, you see a whole bunch of stuff. SEO dashboard is like where you live. So this is customized based on projects for our clients. Don't look, Ashley. These are probably some of your competitors on here. So this is like your kind of home base where you'll be. And then the SEO dashboard is going to be where you see data around. I should really not have this in front of Ashley. Let's pull up another thing. She works at an accounting firm.
It's okay.
If you'll notice, I'm not
publishing us.
Grassy. They're a pretty good client.
David has shown me some of the stuff that you guys have been working on for other firms as well.
Okay. Also, I trust you, so who cares? Okay, so we'll just set up our domain. So before you can even like start, you have to obviously have the full URL. It has to be the root domain. You'll notice that there is an enhanced ability on a technical SEO level to evaluate subdomains, subfolders, which has to do with the URL structure, or exact URLs. So if you want to like get the data on a blog, right? Which remember, what other tool can we do that in? Do you remember? Google Search Console. But we can also go in and do exact URL or subfolders. Now, this is a very non-complex site, obviously. We have I don't know how we have 5,800 backlinks. That can't be right. But this is a very simple site. So it's just one of those things where like, I want to call attention to it, because if the second you plug a URL in here, like for instance, Ashley, if you're researching like the big four, like they have crazy URL structures. So like if you like ey.com doesn't exist. Like it's not a thing. Like everything they have is subdomained out because they have such a huge infrastructure. So it's going to default to what it thinks is the closest possible thing. So always just double check that you have the right thing. So this is giving you your domain overview. So like in any tool, and when you're looking at data, what's the very first thing you check?
Date.
The date
Date
range.
range. Good job. So this is the first thing you're going to find that's a little bit limiting about Semrush, which is date range. So you can see when we were in Google Search Console, our ability to manipulate data to custom date ranges is really beautiful, right? Same with Google Analytics. You can go in and set it for 7 days. You can go in and set it for 14 days, whatever. Semrush batches it differently because it's pulling data. So, and this is something you're going to encounter, and everybody's like, well, I just do everything on Semrush. Okay, but it's not an original source tool, right? Like Google Search Console is the original, and that's where this information is coming from, right? So you don't have the same sophisticated ability to pull and manipulate data. So you pretty much get to navigate by month, and then it goes back historical to whenever the site existed. So this is going to give you all the basic demographics. Okay. So you're going to see the authority score. You're going to see the organic search traffic, which is up a lot. It's great. Backlinks. Okay. So you'll notice when we go through the UI here, our backlink capabilities in here are probably the most sophisticated, unless you're working with a backlink specific tool like Bright Edge, I think. Okay. This can basically just give you the whole domain overview. Okay. So all this data is really familiar. A lot of times when we go in, if you looked at our sample SEO monthly report, you'll notice that we would put like, here were the number of keywords you had in the top 3 spots. Here were the number of keywords you had in 4 through 10. This is where we get that information. Okay. So if you think about it, there's nowhere else where you're seeing that on Google Search Console or Google Analytics that's easy to find. This is really easy to find. It'll tell you exactly how many keywords you have in the top 3, 4 through 10. Can anybody tell me why the relevance of these numbers might be changing for clients or humans who own websites? Do you know what Google just changed? You might not see it yet, but Google's doing away with pages. So it's already been rolled out on mine. So if I go and I look up, I can keep going and going and going.
Oh yeah, I heard of that this morning on a podcast. I was like, that's annoying. How do we know who's page 1?
Yeah. Yeah. So some of you may already see it. Some of you will see it soon. So this is Chrome is changing. Google is changing. So no longer are you going to be looking at page 1 as a really important metric by which to judge SEO success. So keep that in mind. Meaning what we have, freaking Upwork competing with me. Please, like I compete with Upwork. But so this metric becomes a lot more important to people, right? How many keywords do we have in the top 3, 4 through 10, 11 through 20? Okay. Those buckets are still relevant if you think in terms of user behavior. So although pages are going away, we're still conditioned to see results in a certain scroll, right? So yeah, I mean, they don't have to click into it. They'll see content more easily, but it's still not going to dramatically change. I don't think anybody's thing. Another element that is not as easy to see, you can find this info in Google Search Console, but it's SERP features. So who remembers what SERP stands for?
Search engine results page.
Good job. Yep. So in SERP, if you notice in the results, right, I don't just see content. I see all of these tabbed elements. All of these tabbed elements make up how a site performs for SEO. It's why we started doing custom graphics only on our blog, because it matters, right? It matters if you use stock photos and 8,500 other people use stock photos, then that image, even if you use an alt tag, has very little SEO value for somebody, right? So custom, that's why it's becoming a big deal, right? To kind of have all of these. So are you showing up in images, news, shopping, videos? And then if you look in more, there's more items there. So Semrush actually monitors that. So in the knowledge panel, we're nothing, local pack, all these things, right? But we do have a little bit in images. So that's good. Site links, all these. Okay. So you may have, so for instance, if you have a client that's like e-com, you want to start paying attention to where they're ranking for image, for local pack, and for shopping. Because even non-Google shopping products can show up in the search engine results page of that retail component if they're ranking for product names, product types, things like that. So it's just something to pay attention to. I'm going on a tangent. I'm focusing on UI. Focus. Okay. Organic keywords by intent. So this is another thing. So like Megan is really big when she does our SEO reports about focusing on branded versus non-branded traffic. So apparently our business name means nothing, right? Non-branded. You want to be more in non-branded. The point of Google is not for people to, if people know your company name and they're looking for your company and they type it into the search bar, that is not a search, that's not an organic search lead, right? That's just direct traffic. You want people to be typing accounting firms near me. You want people to be typing luxury skincare. You want people to be typing stuff that's like discovery mode, right? So those are non-branded keywords. So if the majority, it's a site health thing. If you log in here and you see like, okay, well, this client is ranking for 85% branded keywords, you can say without question, they have no SEO strategy because they're just not ranking for anything, that people would discover them by accident. Okay. You got lots of stuff in here. You've got, you can go deeper. So we talked about linking, right? So backlink reporting and things like that. You can go deeper into the anchor link text. So we have a big blog about that. Anchor link text is very important. What exact text you link, right? In a hyperlink, things like that. So this will actually tell you, it'll give you all of that. And then it'll tell you your index pages. Obviously, you're going to want to go into, Google Search Console for that indexing feature if you want more sophisticated kind of data that you can feel confident about. Okay, so that's pretty much that. The competitive, so then I'm just going to go through like the 4 big categories. Does anybody have any like big questions so far? Good. I'll try to go faster. Sorry, because I actually just want to set up a project and show it to you. But Semrush I know can feel really overwhelming, so I don't want to go too fast, but there's tons of resources. All right, so there's 4 big buckets on the UI: competitive research, domain overview. This is going to honestly be probably if like you're doing client work where you live. You're going to look in traffic analytics. So we're going to click through these 4, and I'm not going to click through most of these because you can look at them yourself. Okay, so for whatever domain you put in, again, you're going to look at, make sure you're in the right category, make sure you've got the right stuff. And then this is going to tell you all kinds of data around the kind of traffic that's coming to your page. Okay. And you're going to get all kinds of nice data visualizations that you can customize. You can set different, but see again, like the static date ranges, like I can't pick a quarter. So what oh yeah, I can. But if you would have to export the data and mostly use CSVs and then pull them into Google Sheets or wherever you want to manipulate. So think about it. When we were in Google Search Console and we needed to get data off, what format did we get it off in without even trying?
Google Sheets.
Yeah. So we were automatically able to get into Google Sheets, which is super convenient, and it was tabbed and it was titled and all that. Semrush is not going to give you quite that luxury. It kind of favors the graphics over the malleability. Okay, so traffic analytics, organic research. So again, if you want to do keyword research for a client, figure out what are they ranking for, where is their traffic coming from, what is the position changes each month, right? So are they getting better? Are they getting worse? What keywords are accounting for what amount of their traffic? How much of those keywords that they're ranking for are informational intent, navigational intent, commercial intent, or transactional intent. So that's actually pretty important, right? If you're running an e-com brand and all the content you're writing is like how to pop pimples, you are going to mostly be ranking for like informational stuff. You have to make sure there's a mix here. If you want people to actually buy something from you, you've got to have a distribution of keywords that includes commercial intent keywords, and you don't decide what that is, right? Like buy a new couch may or may not, I mean, I assume it is, but may or may not be in a commercial keyword, right? Maybe it's more of an informational keyword. That's dictated by all the other content on the internet. It's not dictated by you. So it's just one of those things where you like kind of gut check, like what's the distribution here of where traffic's coming from and what people are coming to our site to find. And then this is going to give you a whole bunch of SERP features. This we use in like end of year reporting because people want to find out like how, do I rank for videos and images? Am I in FAQs? Am I in Google Learning Center? Different stuff like that. So that's where you just kind of can see all of the breakdown of that. Top pages, organic competitors. This is another piece, honestly, the organic competitors that I will pull out a lot when we're doing an SEO audit. It's a part of our SOP for SEO audits, because a lot of people will be like, we do great for SEO. And I'll be like, great, here's what Google thinks your 6 top competitors are based on what you rank for. And they're like, I've never even heard of any of these companies. Why isn't X, Y, Z, blah, all their actual competitors on there? That's like, well, because you're not ranking for the keywords that your competitors are ranking for, which means you're not competing against them. Like Google doesn't know what your site is about. It's guessing who your competitors are. So you don't have enough information. You don't have the right information. These are a whole bunch of plumbing companies and you're trying to sell latex supplies. Like ne'er the two shall meet, right? Like it's a way of illustrating objectively, like you're not doing a good job, or Google doesn't think you are, right? Like you're not swimming in the right sea. So that's organic research. And then another big piece that you'll probably often use in Semrush is a keyword gap analysis. So what you can do, you can ask clients, say, hey, give me your four top competitors, right? And then you set the competitors in here. So let's just do it. I don't know who any of these sites are. Probably people way more famous than us. And then you can decide, right? You want organic or paid. So Semrush can also analyze a lot of paid. You can find out, like, are my competitors spending $150,000 a month to rank for this? Maybe. And then it'll basically set it up and say, like, okay, here's the fields that are overlapping. Here's how much they're ranking for. This is a really compelling one. So for instance, we have a client who wants to like try to start competing in the middle market up to enterprise, right? They want to ladder up. And I'm like, okay, that's great. The 4 competitors you gave me each rank for more than 20,000 keywords on their site, and you rank for 250. So what do you think are your chances? Like, what is it going to take, right? So this just basically like helps illustrate that and say like, okay, this is kind of it's like the terms of engagement. Like these are the terms of play. If you want to compete with sites like this, here's what they're ranking for, and here's what you're not ranking for. And again, because this isn't a significant amount of data, it'll tell you like, here's the shared keywords, missing keywords. So this can be really compelling. You export this and send it to a CEO, they'll hire you. Because you'd be like, you're missing, 83% of the keywords that your competitors are ranking for. And 17% of those are informational intent, but 80% of them are commercial intent. Meaning 80% of the people who are searching for this product or service are finding them and not you, because that keyword's not on your site, right? Like it's a compelling argument. And then backlink gap. I don't think any of us are going to get real knee deep into backlinks right now, so we won't go too much into that. But basically it tells you like, this is how many, it's an off-page SEO. We all know what backlinks are, right? They're off there linking back to our site. This is what they get. This is what you have. Here's where you've got good chance. Here's where, things that you have in common, not in common. All right. So that's all the competitive research, which is really, really powerful, right? You can start to say, okay, who are your actual website competitors? and what keywords are they ranking for, and what keywords are you going up and down for, and what's the difference, and are you growing? And you could do all kinds of research in there that's going to help you understand what a strategy would look like and how you can shape one. And then the keyword research. So this is where Semrush has done, they did this tool, which is called the Keyword Magic tool. Honestly, I do very little research in Semrush because it stresses me out. But basically what it'll do is it'll give you, I use SpyFu for that. I just do. I know it's delayed data, but I don't care. A creature of habit. So basically what you do is you put the keyword in, it'll run it, and then it'll tell you, okay, this is broad match. If you do ads at all, you probably recognize these terms a lot. Okay, so this is how Google terms linguistically related content. So look it up if you don't know what these mean. Broad match, phrase match, exact match. So if I say exact match, then it's going to tell me, okay, this key phrase, these are the key phrases that actually matter, that have data around them. And then they really only get about 220 hits a month. They have about a 26% keyword difficulty, which is not bad. But these are just the metrics. So it'll tell you the intent, volume, how, is it going up or down or whatever, how difficult is it to rank for, and then how much is it worth in cost per click. And then it'll tell you where it shows up in SERP. So like, okay, you want to rank for that, you're most often going to get there by a featured snippet, review, site link, etc. And then the position tracking tool. So you can actually, and this is actually really valuable. So you can go in and you can start tracking. You just set up like an automated system report every month that it'll tell you like, okay, this website has gained in these many keywords and it's lost in these many keywords in the last 30 days. And it'll just keep track of that. So it's a really nice way to like, just keep an eye on what's going on. And that can be helpful. Okay. And then organic sessions. But again, you probably are going to just look in Google Search Console and see that really easily. Notice everything that's in here is set up as a project, which is what we'll do next. Gosh, I'm out of time. Okay. Link building, backlinks. If you want to know what backlinks are, look it up. On page and technical SEO. So you almost always are going to start with a site audit. This does not replace an actual human site audit. Okay. So like, this is like, it takes, and if you ever get something like this from an SEO company, fire them. This is so inappropriate. People do this all the time. And all you have to do is upgrade your Semrush account and you can white label it. And then like SEO companies will pass it off and be like, we performed a site audit, $3,000, please. And it's like, so shady. Like, this is not, I'll show you what our site audits look like. Like, this is not it. It's great. It's thorough. It gives you tons of information that you can't do anything with. So please, yeah, we'll look at it in just a second. But basically you can run a site audit. You can manage listings, you can do content on-page SEO checkers and logs and things like that. And then there's a couple of other features. So Semrush is not, we'll look at Surfer SEO, which is an AI SEO tool. Very cool. I love it. It's my absolute favorite. Stacy likes Market Muse better. I think they're both fine. They pretty much do the same thing.
I hate Market Muse in the way it's laid out.
No, it's
I hate it.
Well, and
It's
Surfer
very
SEO feels
stressful.
like a game you can win because it has the
Yeah.
temperature gauge when you move.
And I'm losing. Like, I don't like it. I'm losing.
And then when you change the words, it's like, did a robot write this? Yeah. So similar to, so if you've used tools like that before, Semrush has like some stuff that they're kind of trying to get into that game. And I think they will. I think they'll develop a tool probably that does something very similar because they can, make you upgrade your account to get it. So anyway, that's kind of that. Okay. So that's the whole UI. Does anybody have any questions? All right. So like I said, the entire system is basically set up as projects. So we're going to set up a project for Hire a Writer together, and we're going to see all the problems our site has, which I'm sure are multitude, and poor Shaoli. All right. So what you do is you just enter the domain. Great project. And then from here, you'll see we can basically go in and just click setup on all of these things, and it'll start running the data. Okay. And you'll get a prompt. Like, this is basically foolproof. Like, if you've ever used a digital tool, you'll figure this out within minutes. Like, it's incredibly easy, like big blue buttons, just use them. So basically it'll tell you, we can run the site audit. I guess we can do that in the background while we're talking. So when you go to run a site audit, that'll be pretty much the first thing you do, because when you run a site audit, it's going to activate a lot of the other features and then enable you to like turn on like your on-page SEO checker and your recommendations and all the other things that you want to do. So when you do it, you'll go do the root domain, include all subdomains, and then pick, I mean, gosh, I don't even think we have 500 web pages, so I think it should be fine. And then unclick this because it will ruin your life and you will have hundreds of emails every day about site audits. So this will pretty much crawl our entire website and then it'll find all of the things. Okay, so we can go hang out while this is doing this. So basically we set that up to roll and then we'll go back to projects and we'll grab our domain. Will we? There it is. All right, so back to this dashboard. And then we can set up all kinds of stuff. So this will give you daily updates on positions in Google. So if you're running, like for instance, so Megan came to us from, am I allowed to say this? A company, a big company, which I probably shouldn't say. But basically she was like one of like hundreds of SEO people on their team. It was an enterprise organization. So like those are the kind of people at the kind of level who are like daily monitoring. Do not do that on any site that you don't have like 100-person SEO team on, because who cares? Like your daily fluctuations are nothing. It's like looking at your Instagram and being like, did I get likes? Like, don't do that to yourself. It's traumatizing. And like search data, it needs a month, you know, like you need time. You're not going to fluctuate day over day in a really dramatic way. All right. So backlink audit, link building tool is going to do. So these two are like that technical backlink stuff that we're not really going to look at too much. You can do PPC keywords. So this will auto populate. Hey, based on the keywords that your website is ranking for, here's the keywords we'd recommend for paid search. Fine. You can link up your social media accounts. I don't know anybody who does that in Semrush, but you can, so go for it. You could automate your postings. I don't know why you would. Okay, but these are the two that we do want to look at. So I want to show you, we'll look at the audit in a second, but I want to set up the on-page SEO checker because this is actually really interesting. This is something that's one of those, again, like research factors that you can pull from this tool that you really, I mean, I haven't seen the quality of these recommendations from any other kind of automated tool, including Moz, Spyfu, the things. This is really where you find great stuff. So you can basically go in here and you can add, I'm just going to auto import and not do it right now, but if you wanted to, you could say like, okay, my client wants us to optimize 10 of their historical blogs every month. You could go in here, you could enter it and say, okay, I want to optimize this page for this keyword. And then it'll run and it'll tell you exactly what you should do, right? Okay, well, let's just do it. So if we said, I want to optimize, well, that's stupid. Hold on. Let's find a blog. Mark, where's that blog that somebody told you to improve?
That one was from Adele, but
Okay, let's not do that. Let's find what category. This was possibly the worst category to pick. Let's pick a more here, technical writing. Is this
Lord
you?
have mercy.
Is this you? All right, so we'll go in here and we'll say, don't freak out because I don't care about.
I feel personally attacked.
I know I shouldn't have done this. It's really
I'm
bad.
okay. I will not
regret
lose
it.
sleep.
Okay.
I will not lose sleep over this, I promise. It's a learning experience. It's okay.
I should have picked one from Lindsay. She doesn't care what anyone thinks.
She's like, nah.
No, she's like, I really don't.
That was
It's
a
in her-
sarcasm there.
It's in her Enneagram.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, cool.
Is it?
Yeah. So what this will do is it will crawl, and I think I accidentally included the first 50 pages. Sorry about that. But basically what it'll do is it'll crawl all the pages you select, and then it'll give you recommendations and say, okay, you should do these things. Now, you can and probably should connect your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console to Semrush, and then it's going to synthesize the data a little better. But basically what it'll do is it'll say, this is how much you could increase your traffic. Don't ever pay attention to that. That's nothing. That's nothing. Okay. There's no way that's true or real or anything, but you can
over 1,000%.
I know, right?
Wow, me.
Don't put that expectation in front of a client ever. You will not be happy with yourself. Okay, so if we go in here and we did this page, we indicated what page we wanted it to, or what key phrase we wanted it to rank for, and then we would go in here and say this. All right, so the SEO strategy, good job, needs no improvements. There's no keyword cannibalization. There's a high probability. We'll tell you how to improve your chances, get a star rating. All right, so that's SERP features. Our tag doesn't contain any target keywords. Well, our meta tag, if I'm being candid, I'm not sure how to change that on our website. Avoid keyword stuffing, focus on creating more informative content. How dare you? And then it'll basically go through
Damn.
all the metrics. So like if you use our SEO editor checklist, you'll notice it's pretty familiar to this, right? Because these are like the things that you should look for anytime you write SEO content. So basically what it'll go through is it'll tell you like every single thing that you're either doing right or wrong, and that you could improve if you wanted to improve the value of this page for search. Pretty cool.
So I feel like it didn't bomb.
No, not at all. And like
That's cool.
we definitely don't write for SEO on our blog. Don't tell anybody. We just write whatever the heck we want. It's therapeutic. So that's that. So the on-page SEO checker is the one thing I wanted to show you there. And then I want to look at, hold on, where'd I go? Organic traffic insights. Is that what I wanted to do? Yeah. So the content analyzer is kind of similar. So the on page, you'll notice when we go to harvest the actual, we'll set this up while I'm trying. Oh, I guess I could do that really quick. When we run the full SEO audit, you'll be able to see like pages and pages of on-page SEO recommendations. Again, that's where you want to be like, the value of this is moderate. That's not it. Is moderate at best because it's too much. So if you, and that's the problem with any kind of automated audit, it's going to find everything and you can't do everything. So then you're like handing a client like a list of like, here's 3,000 ways that you could improve your website. Like, what do you do with that? You can't do anything. So I just feel like it's one of those where if you go in and you like select very specific URLs that you want to improve for a specific key phrase, okay, that's useful. You can do something about that, right? It's more like granular information. So you just have to be careful because like this can become like data city and you get caught in the trap of thinking you know more than you do about your site. And you basically like rely on this tool to do all the work and all the thinking for you and just do whatever it says. And like you don't know that what it's saying is actually perfect. Right? There could be flaws in this because this machine doesn't know your strategy, right? This machine should help you inform your strategy. So that's that. Okay, so the on-page SEO tracker. So you'll notice it harvested more than just the page we looked at. And we can do that. I'm not going to go into the organic traffic insights now because I don't want to, I can't figure out how to set up my thing. So I think what we'll do next is the keyword manager tool, and then we'll see if our SEO audit is done running and we'll look at what it looks like so you can get a feel for that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so I came over here into keyword manager, and this is where you would go find the keyword lists. So this is like SEO 2.0. So SEO, like bare bones, just seeing what exists and then having like some loose strategies, basically like, okay, every month we're going to write 3 or 4 blogs about X, right? If you instead were to go into a client and have like, okay, we're going to set a year of strategy, which is what we do for a lot of our clients. And we're going to be agile within our plan because things change on the internet and we have to vet our decisions month over month. But we know with confidence, there's a gap between our competitors and us of these 265 strategic keywords that we want to rank for. So what do you do with that information? How can you make that actionable? Because what you don't want to do is look at that and say like, okay, well, then we're going to plan these 265 blogs. Like you have to be proactively tracking what happens. So what you do is you basically go in and you create keyword lists. So I'll show you. We can basically go in, we can create a list. And then you can, and we won't go through the actual stuff here, but you can go in and you can import keywords. Okay, so you can add them manually, type them out, be like, I know we were going to rank for these 40 things that we've decided on that are on the editorial, copy and paste that list here, right? And add them. Or you can import files. So you can go in and add, it's not in this section, but you can go in and add like a CSV file right here, right? Or you can do an Excel, I guess. And you can do that. Okay. So then what you would see, so you would do that, put in all of your data, put in all the key phrases that you want to start tracking and ranking for and stuff like that. And then you would get the list. Okay. This is important to show people. If you rank number 1 for everything you want to rank for, you should be getting 151,020 website visits a month, right? It's the idea of like the gap between who is leading in these keywords and you is real visits from real humans who could buy from you or not, right? Like that loss mentality is an important one to highlight. Like people who do this really well get traffic like this. So there's just a level of like education as you start to convey this data to somebody who cares about it. So basically what you do then is you get to see, okay, here's all the keywords that we decided are important to this client. Here's all the metrics around those keywords. So remember volume, how many hits it gets a month, how it's trending, the keyword difficulty, cost per click values, SERP features, all those things, okay? And then you would be able to track every single month. Okay, so that's like where the keywords live. So then you can use your keyword magic tool. I don't know why they named it. And you can go in and you can vet the keywords that you want each month to add to the keyword manager list. So every single month, that's like the cycle you would do, right? If you have new blog ideas, if you have somebody tell you something they think you should write about, you would go in and vet it, right? Go from the keyword magic tool, and then you can automatically add it to the keyword list. So then, okay, so that's the train. So keyword magic, you do the vetting. Okay, yeah, this is a good keyword. Add it to the keyword manager list. And then you would be able to send it and decide, okay, we're going to try to rank for this organically, or we're going to try to rank for this in paid. Then you can send it to the position tracking, which we looked at before. So that shows up, down, right? When do we go up? When do we go down? What are our gains and losses? Or you can send it to the PPC keyword tool to say like, here's a repository of words that we want to run ads on. What would be a good candidate for a paid ad keyword versus an organic search keyword? Why would you make that decision?
I think about the ones that Modus has competitors for that are kind of out of our league for search volume. So that could be a good paid one just to get the leverage in my head.
So you're saying to bridge the gap?
Between, yeah, like what our volume actually is and what, like we could throw dollars at it.
Yeah, that's almost exclusively it.
Oh,
So if you look at, we talked at the very beginning, diagnostics first. So if I look at a website and I say, okay, your website gets 2,000 site visits a month. You want to rank for the keyword garage door. I have no idea how much volume that gets, but now I want to know. Let's see how many times garage door gets searched. All right, you want to rank for a keyword that has collectively in its LSIs 7 million hits a month and a huge difficulty factor. Now, those two are not always equivocated. Volume is not the only factor for difficulty, but it is a factor. Huge factor, right? So 110,000 hits a month, 87 in keyword difficulty to rank for, meaning it's steeply competitive. Okay, red is an alarming color on this tool. So my only option, if I take a 2,000 hit a month, just think of the math, right? The math wouldn't work. And that's where you have to be realistic with clients who are like, we want to rank for the word all natural. No, you don't. Or no, you can't. Like, you started this website 3 years ago on Squarespace. Like, there is no chance for you ever. Like, maybe in 20 years.
idea.
Right. Like, don't do that. That will hurt you because it'll break your heart and you have false expectations of what is possible. Right. So, but what you could do is maybe throw money at it. The question is how much money? Can anybody tell me how much money that keyword would cost per click?
A lot of
$4.04.
$5.04 per click. And if it gets 110,000 hits a month,
You could just bankrupt yourself like that.
and that's the expectation setting we have to do when we're pitching an SEO strategy. You can be aspirational, but you can't be delusional. And that's where you have to understand, you as the analyst, as the consultant, as the writer, like you have to understand what all this means so that you can explain to them in plain English. Yes, that is garage door repair. Man, you're a garage door repair company. That would be dope. That would be perfect. That would be excellent. You will not get there in Portland, Oregon, with one location and 4 employees and a marketing budget of $4,000 a month. Like that is not possible for you. So let's think of other things, right? So let's think of a local SEO play with geofencing. Like there's things, right? But not that. That thing wouldn't work. So anyway, okay. Keyword magic tool. You vet the keyword. Don't put stuff on here that's like aspirational moonshots. Okay. Like this is meant to manage your actual practical keyword goals. Okay. Keyword manager. And then you would pull the words from your keyword manager over into position tracking so that you could look, and I'll show you what it looks like. So in position tracking, you would look at changes. Okay. So you would say, all right, rankings distribution, I'm looking at how many keywords I've got in the top 3, how many keywords I've got in the top 10, how many keywords, this is a very small website. We should have done a bigger website for this. But basically you'll get to see. So first thing, date range. This is the one of the sub tools that you can set more specific date ranges for, which is great because you want to pay attention, right, to the flux of a specific keyword or phrase, because that will change, right? Stuff goes trending, endless things impact SERP. So you want to pay attention to that fluctuation over time. Another key factor I want to show you is, does anybody see anything on this page that's going to help me understand new things about the way people search for content or services or products online? It's in the top right.
Is that the share voice?
Yeah. So Alexa, Google Home. I'm not logged into our business account apparently. I'm in Guru. Oh, I'm in the Guru. Okay, this is what Guru looks like, by the way, if you're shopping for Semrush. There's a huge trend now in voice search, as you can imagine. Hey, Alexa, find a plumber, right? Like hands-free, the water is filling the bathroom. So there are businesses that are more prone to benefit from key phrases that are in search, but that's where you as a human have to start thinking, because yes, Google pulls linguistically related content, but it still primarily interprets the content of a site based on the actual content, the words you're writing. And the way people type is different than the way people speak, even their mistakes. So if you've been in SEO for any length of time, you know that misspellings are a huge part of an SEO strategy, because people misspell stuff all the time, right? Misspellings of your company name could be a ranking factor. Like it's that common. Misspeaking is very different, because people don't misspell when they misspeak, they misstate, right? They state things differently or wrong. And there are trends around how it happens. So if you're in a business where people are likely to use voice search for anything, right? And what do you need to know for that? Demographics. You need to know income, right? Is their house wired? Do they have a smart house? Are they in an income bracket where they're likely to have a smart house, right? There's all kinds of factors behaviorally that are going to impact how much people are using voice, but it's upticking enough that we all need to be aware of it. And we need to be thinking about planning for the future to say, okay, if I'm in the kind of business where within the next 6 months to a year, you know, if in Christmas 2023, I think most of the people in our demographic are going to be getting smart home devices, like when are we going to start posting content that reflects voice search trends. Okay, like things like that. So because you want to think of SEO in that big picture of like the whole year, the buying cycles, all the things that you have in a business and all that. So that's an important factor. Okay. Any questions on that? I'm going to go back to and see if the SEO audit has run so we can look at that real quick.
Just wanted to share for the longest time, we actually ranked really well for poron, which is a misspelling of another very common Google search term. But it's in fact a material that we carry. So
Interesting. There you go. You never know. All right. If anybody can physically say the words hire a writer, yeah, it's too hard to say. Nobody's saying that. Okay. So site audit. So let's just look through this really quick and you guys can tell me what you think you see. So this is the SEO report. So again, I could export this entire report to a PDF, white label the sucker. Please don't ever do that. It's so wrong. How's our site? What do you want me to click into? What do you want to look at?
what are those warnings all
I
about?
was about to say that's a lot of warnings.
What does that even mean?
To HTTP.
I don't even know what those words mean. Horrifying? What is that?
It's a reference. So so you know RFs,
Oh,
hrefs, yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ruffling.
11 pages don't have an H1 tag. But look at all, actually, to be honest, like this isn't that bad. Okay, warnings, yep, notices. So errors are the ones you care about. Every site's gonna have a lot of warnings. Every site's gonna have a lot of notices. Errors are the things that you probably need to go in really quick. Duplicate meta descriptions, because if I'm being candid, I really don't know how to change the meta descriptions on a bunch of pages. Duplicate content, 4xx. So where else could we see this? Probably.
That show up in analytics as well.
Yeah, it'll show up in analytics. This will show up in Google Search Console.
Ah,
So remember site health, right? We're going to look in Google Search Console. Are there site health issues? This is another thing I want to show you because you might have clients who start to actually ask for it. Core Web Vitals people are really into them right now. I don't know. I mean, it's a good thing to be into. The biggest thing you're going to encounter, honestly, from a site health perspective is something you run in sitespeed.dev, which is speed itself, right? Like time to render is the fundamental flaw in most websites because developers don't get it. They don't get why that's not totally true. Developers may get it. Clients don't understand. Why can't I have a full size hero video that just loops a minute of like inspirational footage of flowers in the field? And it's like, well, because it's not ADA compliant, and two, because it blocks your time to render so dramatically, it's going to ding you in Core Web Vitals. But anyway, until you can prove that, they don't believe you because it feels like branding and it feels important. But there's like, obviously, like tiny PNG, all your images, right? Franco is literally, he just invented a tool for HubSpot that auto compresses all the images on a HubSpot website. You got to compress images. You got to do these best practices. So this is all about how long it takes for content to get loaded on a page, all that kind of stuff. Oh gosh. To be fair, these are probably all my fault. So yeah, so we got us 20%. Not great, right? Like we failed basically Core Web Vitals. So that's something that you're going to want to pay attention to and you're going to want to draw clients' attention to because it's one of those things that's like very much outside of your role. If you're a writer or a content strategist or an SEO person, like it's totally outside your role to be like, you should compress the images on your website. However, if you don't recommend that they do that and their website has a poor UX or it has problematic components to it, it's going to totally undermine all of your SEO efforts. It's why you can't do SEO in a vacuum. It's why a machine can't do SEO for you because you as a human look back and be like, oh, wait, I can't even see that button because the pop-up covers it, right? And a client's like, well, why aren't we getting more form fills? You're like, well, you have to see big picture in the core, or like the text falls off the side on mobile, like it's not mobile optimized. Like you have to pay attention to a lot more than just what's in your purview because those things affect your data. And so if you condition yourself to be like really familiar with what all those things mean, you can start to educate the people in your circle and your clients and your bosses and all that to so that they start to understand, like, you have to have website hygiene. You have to have a developer looking at your website once a month and scrape it, obviously, or you have problems like this that go unmanaged and unnoticed. Okay. So that's site performance. So it'll tell you, it'll itemize all the issues. It'll show you all the pages it crawled. It'll show you the statistics. So if you know this is really important. Okay. This is where big websites, you go into a website that has 5,000 or more pages, crawl depth becomes a huge issue because Google has a budget for you and it will only crawl so many pages. So if you have a URL structure that goes down like 6 trees, like, Google doesn't care. Google will not pay attention to it. And then they'll be like, why do we have 500 pages that have never been indexed? It's like, well, because you eat up your crawl budget every month with this extraneously complicated URL structure. Okay. Crawl depth. You never want to be more than 3 clicks away from the anchor. Like, you just don't, that kind of stuff. Markup, canonicalization, all those kind of things. So this is all technical SEO, obviously. And then you can kind of compare. So if you run a site audit, so like Shaylee will do this after we go clean up a client site, which obviously we pay better attention to than our own. So we'll run it once and we'll run it again. And then we'll send the client the before and after we fixed it, right? And show them like, okay, this is what we changed. And then it'll show progress. Like, you got better at this, you got worse at this. Before you had these many errors, now you have these many. Like, it's just an easy way to automate that kind of information so that you can get it to somebody quickly. So that's it. So like I said, almost any tool that you use like this is going to unlock your ability to research. And if it's a good tool and you can become familiar with it, then you can set up these kind of protocols in the system so that every month you're looking at the same kind of data, that you're comparing it, that you're setting, you know, from the very beginning. Like, I always say this to everybody, like, the second you get into a client website, document everything, because you want to know what you inherited. Because 6 months down the road, they'll be like, why doesn't this page load? Or why haven't our blogs indexed or whatever? And you need to be able to point back and be like, I told you that. Like, and you said you didn't have the budget to fix it. Okay, just be clear, right? Like, you have to make sure you're really clear about documenting what you encounter, because you have to have a baseline. You need to know if a 0.8% click-through rate is good or not. Is it good? Is that what is normal on this website? Right? So you use Google Search Console, you use Google Analytics, you set it all up, you diagnose everything, then you load all that data into a tool like this, and then you have the ability to generate these kind of reports. You have the ability to research keywords, you have the ability to figure out what should our strategy be, who are our competitors, who do we want our competitors to be, how are we going to win against them. I forgot you were here, Sanders. I think you were outside my frame like most of the time. All right. How is everybody? Do we feel like that is like drinking from a fire hydrant, or because we know the foundation, it made a lot of sense?
Fire hydrant, but made sense.
The leading answer. You can tell what I wanted you to say.
It was rapid fire, but I loved it. I loved it. I mean, I don't think there was anything that is burning a hole in my brain to know more right now, but.
Yeah, it's definitely like eating an elephant to learn a tool like that. But if you want a sophisticated SEO strategy, you have to have a tool like that. Unless it's your full-time job to do SEO for one company and you have some people helping you. Just the volume of data will exceed your ability to handle it if you don't have a tool that can help you break it down and categorize it and all that.
Have you noticed a major difference between the version you have and the lesser version?
Yes.
Okay.
Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will prompt you, it'll paywall a portion of what we just did.
Yeah, I tried to move through it with you against like Modus's stuff, and I'm like, no, but I want that information. So now we need that information.
I don't think it's significantly more. I think the big jump is guru to business. I think financially. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool beans. All right. So we are off next week because our team has one-on-ones for coaching. So we will start back then with SERP for SEO. So on the 7th of February, we'll huddle back up, and SERP for SEO, I think is, I want to have even a more broad discussion at the beginning about content AI and like what natural language processing is. So if you, most of you know this, like I spent almost a year training a content algorithm for Indeed, which is a big enterprise company. And so I know a lot about how these work and like what they do and why and things like that, because I went through thousands of articles with it. So I think it would be good to kind of like broadly talk about like what the capabilities of these AI systems are. And then we'll look at how SERP for SEO actually functions to score content, analyze content in context of SERP, which is pretty cool. So I'll miss those of you who I don't see until then. And I'll see you then. I think I already have calendar invites out, but if I don't, ping me, we'll send them out.
Thanks, Joy.
Thanks, Joy. Thank
Have
you.
a good night, everybody. See
Thank
you
you,
in
Joy.
February. All right. Bye, guys.